Letting us present. I'm Mike Max. I grew up again. I know a lot of you guys, man. I know some of you guys are, when you're considered good looking and athletic, that's how old I am now. But thank you for allowing us to present today. Obviously, three different towns in a way that we've never gone about this before, because as you can see, and as you know, it's three different leagues as well. And this is different, and it's diverse. And as they took me through the process of how it was different, I go, this really is pretty cool, because we got 42 different teams. St. Clair's coming in next year, go all the way over to Watertown. I don't have to tell you guys about the parameters of it, but with that, which I didn't think about initially, and then we started talking about it, means that we've got a huge pool of A, volunteerism to support the tournament. We all know how important that is, to have your leagues get involved in it, and B, what I witnessed this last year, which was just fantastic, being out at Chaska and Laconia. I didn't go to Hamburg, but to see how people will show up if you've got two things, great weather and area teams in it. Amazed me, it was phenomenal. The third piece of it is marketing the tournament. I did two TV pieces last year for WCCO TV. One was a live shot the first night that it was at Chaska and Meesville played and against Chaska and that huge crowd. And then I did another piece towards the end of the tournament at Laconia in the state championship game. And I looked up the numbers the next day, and I know you guys don't, this is my life, so I see it every day, ratings and how many people watched us. Those two pieces that we did, we had over 200,000 people watched in our 6 o'clock news the night that we did the piece from Chaska. We had another 200,000 people that watched our news the night that we did the piece from Laconia on that beautiful sun-drenched day with all the people that were at the game. The potential to market this tournament is going to change by the time we get to that date. And what it's going to be all about, you guys have seen Town Ball, you've seen it on Fox Sports, and you know how successful that was, I think. And I think, you know, for all of us that played the game when we grew up in it, you saw what that did. People love those stories. Now, the next big thing that's going to come is something called CBSN. Some of you may, you don't need to understand it all, but CBSN now, when we transmit on WCCO TV, we also transmit so you can get it on your phone anywhere. By the time we get to this tournament, at this time, it's going to be huge. Because it's getting really big right now. So that you can watch our news and our programming anywhere you want on your phone. When we had the riots come through and throughout the country, people, the only way they could watch it was to sign up on their phone. And we expanded by millions almost overnight during that period of time. By the time we get to this state tournament, CBSN is going to be how you consume all your stuff. Now, the reason that that's important is CBSN has a problem, and the problem is they can't run professional sports highlights on CBSN because it's a whole different licensing agreement with each one of the leagues. So the programming that they're looking for are things where they don't have to pay a licensing fee as they do to the NFL, to the NHL, to the NBA if they want to run it. So they want to make it more grassroots. So by the time you get to here, you're going to have this huge, everybody's going to be, most people are going to be consuming their news and everything else on CBSN or something like that. And they're looking for programming that is homespun, down home, all these things. I just met with people from New York about this last week, not specific about this. This is an excellent opportunity, if you know what you're doing, to do what we've all wanted to do, which is to bring attention to amateur baseball. Because every time they see the stories, every time we tell the stories, they love the stories. There's going to be this whole new thing that opens up, and between that and streaming the games and understanding how to tell the stories, there's a great opportunity here by the time that we get there. The reason I say that is because I'm in the driver's seat to do a lot of this stuff with CBSN, because that's who I work for. And we've just created this whole new TV station, and this TV station, whether you realize it or not, is going to be how you watch our news at 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, because you're going to be able to watch it at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock anywhere you want. And the programming that they're going to want is the homespun stuff like amateur baseball, whether it's in the form of a game or packages, so that I always thought the best way to sell amateur baseball is to tell the stories about the people that play the game and manage the game and take care of the fields. That's the opportunity that's never been before that I'm on the forefront of. Now, these are some other huge names: Jeremy Stenner, Joel Niemeyer, Kip Kovar. You know, the media is a huge piece of this thing. And by the time we get to here, we're going to have a lot of people in place and a lot of technology in place to call attention to this great tournament. which is what happened this last year, which was so much fun in Chaska and in Laconia. So we got reach because we got the people, and we're not that far from the Twin Cities to try to drive those crowds, to try to create that audience, to try to bring amateur baseball back to where it is. The 3 ballparks, and this is key, you guys understand this being on the state board. You're not going to have to go to the city in any of these 3 cases to find out what it is that you want to get done, and what needs to get done, and what needs to be upgraded. You can go right to a point person in each case. You know, they've done Kim Kinsler over at Hutchinson, and Randy Walsh taking over for Bill Walsh, Gaylord, and Dave Wentland in Brownton. You don't have to screw around with all the other stuff, and you guys know what I'm talking about. If it's a city-run ballpark, if it's someplace out there, these 3 sites all can make decisions on their own. And when you tell them, we need to do this, we need to do this differently, whatever it is, you can go right to the person and get it done. And I know how important that is to you guys approaching the tournament, as you get towards the tournament, that you want everything specific. We reach out in terms of, we got the new motel now in Gaylord that we're proud of. Obviously, Hutchinson can facilitate a whole lot of other stuff for teams, for people that want to stay there. Brownton right in the middle with that tradition-rich stadium that stood the test of time. All those things are they're the perfect, in my mind, the perfect distance from the Twin Cities, that you can mark the Twin Cities, get people to come out from there. And you've got 3 wonderful ballparks in 3 different leagues, and this is one of the most unique things that I've ever seen. You know, they got future, yeah, we're gonna improve things and all, you know how this stuff goes, new dugouts, new fencing, all that stuff. I gotta tell you, I was in Hutchinson yesterday and I drove by Mooney Field. That thing is nice. And I was in Gaylord this year for the region tournaments, and I couldn't believe both the size of the crowds and how people have figured out how to watch the games beyond first base. They've got a little area down there in the right field. And they got a lot of room to spare with the water park right next door to it, which has been a big hit in Gaylord for as people come through town, as people hang out there. So everything's in place, and they'll make improvements, but as you know, there aren't any overhauls that you gotta make here. These things are in pretty good shape, and they've been in pretty good shape for a long time. We've all got the whole grass infield, we've eliminated all the dirt and all that goes with it, but they're pretty much game ready and the surfaces are in great shape. That's what we offer to you guys, is 3 great locations, not far from the Twin Cities, an area that we think, you know, I'd love to take a run at that record that they said Joe said was big as tennis since 1959. I'd love to take a shot at that and do it the right way. And we got people that crave this kind of a thing, and you're going to continue to spawn out, by the way, beyond the Twin Cities, right into these areas in terms of population base. I'd love to take a run at that 1959 record with these 3 teams working together. So we think we've got the winning recipe. We think we've got everybody, the people in place. We think we've got, because Brownton's, what, 7 times they've hosted it? Gaylord once, Hutchinson 3 times, right? Been there, done that, all those things. And we think we're in a great position to continue, because we've already made a lot of improvements to the ballparks since the last time any of those tournaments were in play. So for me, this is a little bit more about the romantic part of it. I love it. I love the state amateur baseball tournament. I'd love to be a part of it in a different way. I'd love to expand our media coverage into it, and obviously at the radio show that I do, et cetera, that we could build going into it, talk about it at regular conversations, which we've done sometimes in the past. Things that really reach, now that we have the Twins on our air, we can get a partnership there too, I'm sure, to create some amateur baseball segments and things like that on the radio. And last but not least, before I turn it over to our esteemed panel for any questions that you have that are more important than what I have to say, there's some sentimental value to me, because I look at Gaylord, and Bill Walsh is going to be 87 years old tomorrow, you know, our great groundskeeper. I'd love to see him get one more tournament, even though his son's going to be riding the tractor most of the time. And I would love to see, and I don't know, this never happened before, but I think there's a possibility, if we time this right, the possibility of watching maybe the oldest ever amateur baseball player pitch the state championship game in his hometown, because Kyle Messner is certainly tracking in that direction. We might be able to pull that off if all things come together. Because if he's not pitching for Hutch, he's going to get drafted by somebody else. And I would love to see that. That's the part of it that I know. That's the understanding that I have. And by the way, congratulations to you guys, too, for getting through all this stuff the last couple of years. To keep playing baseball, and we had the COVID, and we know, you know, with Freddie Ropes and everything else that went on. You put on another marvelous tournament. and I mean, this is purely personal, but as somebody that works in the media, surrounded by people from the Twin Cities all the time, I just love it when we can bring an amateur baseball story to them. And I just love it when we can tell them, hey, you guys, you're missing it, you don't understand what goes on out there. I just love it, and I love it when we can bring them to a state tournament game, as I did some people this last year, and say, see, this is what I've been talking about. You don't get it, this is really cool, and it happens, and I know how much work goes into that. And I know a lot of that work is done today and the days that come. So a thank you to you, because it's kind of nice to, be an alumni of amateur baseball and be so proud of what amateur baseball is and continues to be, because it's heavy lifted, and you guys have done it for a long, long time. So with that, I will yield the floor, and any questions you have to these gentlemen that they can answer, I'll let them step into the spotlight.
Well, thank you, Matt.